The Senate could vote as early as this week on the fiscal framework for President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill for economic issues. It would extend expiring tax cuts and implement his tax cut promises. The measure is also expected to boost funding for border security and national defense. In terms of spending cuts, however, Republican senators are talking about including around $2 trillion over a decade. Here with me now to discuss is the president of the National Taxpayers Union, Pete Sepp. Pete, always a pleasure, my friend. Good to see you.
Same here, sir.
So how do you foresee the reconciliation process ultimately playing out?
Well, what we're going to have to see is the two chambers of Congress coming together on a common game plan. It seems clear that both the House and the Senate want to avoid a tremendous $4 trillion plus tax hike on the economy that would throw it into a recession for sure. Now, the question of spending restraint is a very important one. The House passed a budget resolution that calls for $2 trillion less in federal spending over a 9-year period. The Senate's budget resolution is saying, well, certain committees may have the option to do the $2 trillion, but I think we need to be more forceful here, lock those in, because we're really not talking about $2 trillion of cuts to federal spending. We're talking about a $2 trillion slowdown in the rate of increase. Taxpayers are already sacrificing a whole lot, accepting a massive run-up in federal spending since the pandemic, over 70% since 2019. I think it's time to acknowledge we need to do even better than $2 trillion in spending restraint. $2 trillion needs to be the floor.
I'm glad you brought that up, because it seems that that is a major foundational disconnect between the two houses. No matter how much you ultimately want to see, that's a huge disconnect that ultimately could throw a monkey wrench in this entire thing, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's very important for both chambers to say, look, we may have differences on where we want to see savings in the federal budget. Entire programs might actually be cut, but we're still going to have plenty of room for the federal budget to keep growing under even a $2 trillion spending restraint scenario. You take Medicaid, for example. That's a really hot topic right now. Democrats in Congress are saying, oh, it's nearly a $900 billion cut in federal spending. It's nothing of the kind. There is no cut in Medicaid spending being contemplated either in the House's version of this budget or in the Senate's. In fact, the House's version of the budget is saying we just want to slow the growth rate of Medicaid spending from a little under 5% that's projected annually for the next 9 years to a little under 3%. Now, how is that some kind of end-of-the-world doomsday scenario? It isn't, because there is so much, $50 billion worth of waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicaid alone. That's a great place to start pulling back the rate of increase.
Pete, I'm going to tell all the Congress members that we have coming on that they need to call you, because I think you've got some great ideas there and things they should consider. Pete Sepp, we appreciate your time, my friend.
My pleasure.